how did you get into financial industry?
Realized that I did not understand my own finances.
What were those important things they said to you that make you believe what they were saying actually makes sense?
The first thing that any and everyone needs to do is get an education about finance.
If you look at your life before then, what were those things you were doing wrong?
Oh my goodness, I was doing everything wrong.
I don't know if you have something to say about the African American disparity when it comes to financial literacy.
They look at earning, consuming, saving, investing, borrowing, managing debt, and insuring.
The ideal is about keeping more businesses within the community and, most importantly, doing businesses within the community.
I look to support Black businesses. Yes, good day. This is JR Spann Davis, and it is such a pleasure to be with you today. I am a financial representative for How Money Works, the Money Books Company. I've been in the financial services for 15 plus years, just helping families, businesses, individuals get their funds in order, set up retirement plans, life insurance, college funds, budgets, you name it, all things finance. My team in my office are here to help anyone and everyone.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Jeahne. Now, tell me, how did you get into financial industry? Was there anything that actually moved you to that place, or did you just landed on it by accident?
Well, no, actually, some years ago, when I was a single parent, I realized that I did not understand my own finances. I'm the oldest of four, and at that time, my father and stepfather were both still living. They were both in the military. So I knew when the military paydays were. And when I ran into trouble, I would call one on the 15th and the other one on the 30th because I needed some funds. And I decided that I just could not continue my life in that manner, especially being a single parent. I didn't want my children growing up like that. So I had a friend who actually came to my home and said, "Hey, you need to do whatever this guy tells you to do." And I did. At that time, it was just about getting proper coverage on myself in case something should happen to me. And then some years after that, I met my business mentor, James Wilkerson, retired lieutenant commander. And he, along with a few other folks, actually sat me down, taught me a few things, helped me get my finances in order, and allowed me to be able to educate other folks about the things that we do.
All right. So these two gentlemen sat you down and they talk you through your how to put your financial house in order, correct?
That is correct. My financial house, yes.
All right. What were those important things they said to you that make you believe what they were saying actually makes sense?
Oh my goodness. First of all, the the first thing that any and everyone needs to do is get an education about finance. We, especially as people of color, are oof, behind the wheel. You could say, for lack of a better way of expressing it. Um, the things that they taught me, number one, was to obtain a financial education. Number two, you definitely need to make sure that you have proper protection for yourself. What is your most important asset? You. And if you have a family, what is going to become of your family? Those are the things that we have to keep in mind. Three, you need to create an emergency fund. And everyone says, "Oh, I don't have any money. I can't afford to put money aside. I can't save." Well, start off with $5 every time you get paid. And you eventually increase that. When you turn around and look at what you have set aside, you're going to find that you have hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars saved without even being aware of it. For me, what I would do is, let's just say my bank account had $521.13 in it. I would take $12.13 and move it to the savings account. And I would put $5, $10 away every paycheck. And then at the end of the month, whatever was left in the checking account, I went ahead and put that aside. So I was putting money away every opportunity that I had. The next thing that's of importance is you have to apply debt management. We run around with so much in credit card debt. We think we have to have the biggest house on the block. Truth be told, it's best to have the smallest house on the block. And don't buy your dream house the first time out. You can use a home to build wealth. Buy what you need and you just keep moving up from there. Don't let your first house be your dream house. No, you got to leave room for growth. Increase your cash flow. So, what does that mean? Well, you may need to get a side gig. You may need to start a business. Anything that's going to allow you to increase your income in any fashion to help pay off debt and to help you save quicker. And then you have to build your wealth. Well, to do that, again, you're looking at starting a business because here's the thing. Working for someone 9 to 5 is not going to make you wealthy. It's not even going to make you rich. It'll probably help you be comfortable, if you are in fact managing your money well, excuse me, and doing the things that you need to do to to build wealth. And of course, there's 4 disciplines that actually help promote building wealth. Number 1, you need to save regularly. Don't touch your savings account. Review your goals and make adjustments as life and your finances change. You don't just make a plan today and not make any changes to that plan. And then, of course, you have to protect your wealth. So you need a will and you need a trust. Let's stop right there and talk for a moment. Look at James Brown. Look at Michael Jackson. I think he died in 2009, Michael Jackson. His estate is still in probate. It is still in court because he didn't have his trusts set up properly. Multi-millions of dollars are running through his fingers. Not sure if folks know the gentleman from The Sopranos who died many years ago. His estate was in probate. Half of that went to the courts. But then look at the young man from Fast and the Furious. He passed away. You heard absolutely nothing about his estate. Everything went to his daughter peacefully and in order. Recently, Chadwick Boseman, the young man from Black Panther, he had a $3 million estate. He married the young lady he was with on his deathbed, which was to ensure that she received his estate. But he did it wrong. He, number one, didn't have a will. I'm sorry, he didn't have a trust, and so his estate went to court. The court got $1 million for fees and everything else, attorney fees and taxes and what have you. His parents received $1 million, and she only walked away with $1 million, when in fact he wanted her to have the full 3 million. So if we do not, as African Americans, people of color, get ourselves in order, then there's definitely going to be a problem. And last but not least, you really need to stay on top of everything. So you review your finances, your plans, your goals every year. You can do it every 6 months, but you need to be aware of the money coming in and the money going out. Every dollar, every coin should have a purpose.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think those are really very key and important points in the conversation relating to financial education. That is what it is today. We are talking financial education, and this is a conversation that we all really must be talking about all the time. And we need
Yes.
experts in the area to help us straighten out these things because they are not taught in our schools. For those who spend a lot of time in schools, otherwise you should have come out with don't things a lot of things differently. But in any case, I have a question for you because your story is very important. It helps us to be able to understand what is happening here. Now, before you met the two gentlemen who sat you down and gave you the proper education about finance, if you look at your life before then, what were those things you were doing wrong that maybe other people can relate with?
Oh my goodness, I was doing everything wrong. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had to call my dad almost every month and ask him to send money. Let's just fast forward to when I became a single parent and I ended up living here in Florida. I had an apartment. I had my two kids. I was working, but my income was not sufficient. I could pay for the food, the groceries, and what have you, but literally, I would say almost every other month, if not every 2 months, I had to reach out to my dad and say, "Hey, I can't afford my rent. I already wrote the check, and you need to make sure it doesn't bounce." Those were my words to him. And of course, he would put the money in my bank account. But I eventually said to myself, I honestly cannot live like this. So every job that I got was a job that paid me more to the point where I could afford to pay my own bills. But then the thing that I had to recognize is I have to save. I have to put some money away for that proverbial rainy day, or if my children wanted to go out. One of the mistakes that we and myself, folks make, especially if you're single, is you eat out all the time. You don't pay attention to the money that you have. You think, oh, I've got it. Oh, it's okay. I can pay that bill later or whatever the case might be. But no, that's not the case. You have to take care of essentials, which is the new word since COVID. You have to take care of essentials and you need to be aware, always aware of what your money is doing. So the mistake that I was making, like so many people, is just spending money and not being accountable for my funds.
That again is very important. Now, when you say writing down these expenses that you are making, uh, to what extent are we really supposed to use those data that we are writing down? What is it supposed to mean for us? Because somebody might be writing down those data now, like hey, you spend €1.15 in a coffee, you write it down somewhere. Then
Mhm.
at a point, what does that do for you? How do you use those data?
Well, first of all, I call it a spending plan. So you're going to write down your spending plan, your budget. And excuse me, you're also going to look at your checking account, your savings account, get your bank statements for the last 3 months to take a look at how you're spending your money. There are a bunch of computer programs out there that will help you do that. You've got mint.com, you need a budget, several different things that you can use as an option to help you track your money. And it will tell you exactly how you are spending your money. I can recall a client who found $700. Why? Because she had subscriptions to things she wasn't even involved with. And then you have those clients who spend $500 to $600 a month doing what? Eating out. And you're not aware because you're just swiping that bank card. Excuse me. So writing everything down helps you keep every dollar accounted for. You start with your debt, every bill and the due date, and you start with your income. Let's say you get paid every 2 weeks, well, you're going to put that down. Whatever bills are due between the 1st and the 15th, you put those down. And then whatever bills are due with the other half of the month, you put those down. Something else that you can do is auto pay. Have your bills come out on automatic payment. That's going to eliminate what is it? Bank draft, EFT charges, overdraft charges. But having that budget, having that spending plan, it keeps everything before your eyes. It makes you accountable. It makes you aware, and it keeps your finances fresh in your mind. So writing everything down means you have a budget, a spending plan before you, and you check it on the monthly.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's talk about the information that you might need to be able to build your financial muscle in terms of the financial knowledge, in understanding how money work. Because it's not like money doesn't really pass through our hands, but that is what it really does. It just passes through our hand without being able to direct it to where it need to go. Because sometimes we don't know what to do. We don't know how to use it. And the way the money functions is that, of course, you get a paycheck, then you spend it on the things, Then you wait for the next paycheck again, and it come, you spend it on the thing, and it come again, and you spend it on the thing. Then at the point you ask yourself, but if you are cognizant of what have happened, maybe after a year or two or three or four, because the data is not going to lie to you. The data is true. You can calculate how much money that really passed through your hands in the name of paycheck and all of that, and you can see you can't hold anything for, you can't show anything for it. You start asking yourself, but what have happened? So the question now is, you don't know what to do here. You don't have the right information. So where should you go to have the right information so that you know what to do? Because the money is going to pass through your hand anyway. Whether you do something about it or not, this is going to happen. But you're taking
Exactly.
action, knowing what to do is going to make the difference. Where should you go? Book to read, courses, show the people what to do.
Most definitely. I'll be more than happy to answer that question. So, yes, there are definitely books out there, and I'll name a couple of them. There are definitely books out there that are going to help educate you. Myself and my team, we put on many seminars and we have courses that we provide. But a couple of the books that I would certainly recommend would be How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. It is actually one of the number one financial books out there. It has been all over TV more than, what, 400 times, if I'm not mistaken. Every um, news station has contacted the Money Books Company about this book. There's another book out there called How Money Works, Take Control or Lose It. That book is for women. It goes through the different stages of life for women, the different circumstances that women may face as they get older, from college to being 70 and 80 years old in retirement, having lost their husbands, or having a special needs child, or divorcing. There's a new book out geared toward individuals between the ages of 18 and 40, and that book is How Money Works, The Next Generation. And it talks about the 7 money milestones, as well as speaking about the different stages that young people might go through: purchasing your first car, purchasing your first home, going through college, different things of that nature. You also have um, another one of my favorites. Give me one second here. Let me get the title of that book. But you also have, um, oh goodness, walking over here to my bookcase so I can get the name right for you. Here we go. The Financial Pocket Knife.
All
This
right.
actually tells you about one of the products that you can actually use to help yourself with your funds. There are just so many books. The Psychology of Money. Um, Goodness. I would say that would be a start. All of those books right there would be a start. The How Money Works book, Stop Being a Sucker, I would recommend that one as your first book, because even a fifth grader can read that book and understand. My girlfriend gave that book to her daughters. They're a set of twins. And they came back to her after reading, and they were literally in the fifth grade at the time. They came back to her and they said, these books go over a concept that not even accountants or bankers are aware of, called the Rule of 72. And this rule will tell you how long it's going to take your money to double. You Let's do something simple. Let's say that you have 72 and you're getting you take that 1% interest and divide it into 72, and that's going to give you 72, which means it's going to take 72 years for that $1 to double. Who do you know has 72 years for a dollar to double? So there are things that you can do, that you can put your money in, that will help your money to grow, that will definitely put you ahead of the game. So those are the things that we have to learn, and not just people of color, but everyone. I mean, there are so many folks out there that don't know anything about finances, and they certainly don't know about the Rule of 72. You either have your money working for you, or you have your money working against you. And
Oh,
it's extremely important to know how it can work for you.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Now, there was a number of occasions that you make reference to the African American in your conversation. I don't know if you have something to say about the African American disparity when it comes to financial literacy.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm not sure if how many people are familiar with the Urban League, but they recently published an article. Um, Let me think. I believe sometime this week, actually. Um, yeah, sometime this week. They released an article sometime this week, actually talking about the disparities in African American financial literacy. So there's an institute called the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association, TIAA, and they actually look at 8 key areas of personal finance where they come back with these figures. So let me just mention, and these are some of the things that we actually discuss in the 7 money milestones to set your financial foundation in order. So they look at earning, consuming, saving, investing, borrowing, managing debt, and insuring, comprehending risk and uncertainty. So, with this report, according to the report, our African American adults answered 30% of the PFIN index questions correctly. And so, of that, which basically means that let's just say there were 100 questions, we only got 38 correct, we failed. That's an F grade. And that's in comparison to 55% of the white adults who took the same test. So they got half of them right, and we got less than a third of the questions correctly. Now, with the African Americans, we scored apparently comparatively low on questions that related to understanding risk and investing and identifying go-to information resources. So like the question you just asked me, what books, where could people go, what could they actually do to find out about financial literacy? This test showed that African Americans have no idea of where to go to even begin to get an education in financial literacy. And at the beginning, you made a very good point yourself where you said it's not taught in schools, and it's not. Recently, over the past 6, 7 years, I believe, 23 states have said that high schoolers need at least one semester of financial literacy in order to graduate. But I guarantee you that those same schools do not teach the Rule of 72, which I mentioned to you. Um, the other thing is, as soon as an African American gets their check, it circulates into the community, not the African American community, but the community in their surroundings. You give another nationality of color the money, and that dollar circulates within their community. They shop amongst their own people. If we as African Americans were to come together with our dollar, it would just be absolutely amazing. I'm not sure if folks recall back in 1966, Claiborne, Mississippi, where it was a town of racist shop owners, gas station owners, and they just treated the African American extremely bad. Well, long story short, Charles Evers, the brother of Medgar Evers, got together, and instead of guns, he used the power, big capital letters, of the black dollar. And he told everyone in Claiborne, Mississippi, boycott. People actually drove 75 miles to a different community to purchase the things that they needed. This boycott went on for about 6 years. Here you have your black community coming together with their almighty dollar. And for 6 years, they boycotted that. They boycotted Claiborne, Mississippi. And now you go back, the shops in that area are owned by black folks. And I think as recently as 1982, the court system, because the racist individuals in the area sued the NAACP, stating that they owed them money for their loss. Well, the court system came back and said, no, that is not the case. So if black folks would take a lesson from that. Not only could we bolster our own economy, we could do so for our own selves. We have to, we have to educate ourselves. Um, and I don't want to put any businesses out there, but those little um, bank accounts that say, hey, we help you build up your credit, things like that. I'm not disparaging those things, but they're not teaching you anything about finance when you get your paycheck 2 days early. No, you need to learn to manage your funds properly and not get involved with crazy things like that. The little bank cards that they offer, and no, you need to sit down and really get a true education about finances. Because according to this report, just released by the Urban League this week, we are far behind the Richter scale. There's an entire gap in the lower African American families compared to whites in the same demographics. We are just behind. We do not bother educating. We'd rather go buy some spinning rims, if those are still a thing, than to put that $400 in the bank. And then we have the nerve to go to the pay here, buy here type places where the interest rate is just sky high. And instead of paying $400, you end up paying $1,000 for an item. No, save and see if the item is really needed. We've got to get that education.
All right. Um, Thank you so much for that. Actually, there are two questions there, very important, that I would like to ask you. The first one have to do with the disparity itself, um, which is, why is there this disparity? What do you think are contributing to it? Anyway, I know in the part you have responded to it, but I want you to expand more on that. Why is there the disparity within the African American or African diaspora compared to other demographics?
Well, wow. I would just have to say the reasoning really would be the level of education in certain areas. You know, they've got that rule, that law, that saying, no child left behind. So in the education system, that's exactly what they mean. They're not providing an education of any sort, be it about finances or anything else in that regard. And you find that location plays a big deal in the disparity. So let's just take some young child in Mississippi. I believe it's West Virginia that has the lowest level of education, and Mississippi is third to last. I'm in Florida, and we're number 21 as far as the level of education. Um, but you can go to these different communities, and the schools do not provide and that's not to say that the teachers don't want to give that education, but the schools don't provide the level of education that is needed, the motivation, the insightfulness. Um, they're trying to remove, or not trying to. They've pretty much removed Black history from school books, things of that nature. So we cannot learn, I guess you would be the proper word, from our mistakes in the past. And if your parents have not been educated about finance, then they in turn cannot educate you about something that they don't know. If programs aren't made available in the community to educate the families and the young people and the businesses about the proper way to handle money, then they're not going to learn. I mean, look at our counterparts and tell me, you know, um, Evelyn has a business and she's sitting down hiring her children in the business and educating them about the things that go on in the business. Whereas Mary Jane over here down in the, 15 blocks over across the railroad tracks has no clue about even how to start a business. So the disparity comes in the fact that there is no education being provided. It's just economic differences in the regions, in the country, in the cities, in the communities. It's just not being provided. And that's where I come in. I offer educational classes or financial classes for individuals. I spend time talking to youth between, as young as 5 years old, to tell you the truth. I actually mentor some young girls and educate them about finances. I just recently did a seminar for young girls 13 to 18 about college, but we discussed finances, how to pay for school, getting internships, finding a mentor, different things of that nature. And those things are not generally provided to a lot of our brown skinned folks. Yes, we have the NAACP and different organizations out there. And I would say since COVID, things are just moving along great. People are really being informed and educated. And it's getting better, but we have a long way to go.
You see, this is really an important conversation we need to have, and I can guarantee you that we'll come back to it again because it's fundamentally important what we are talking about here today. You see,
Yes.
I live in Italy. If you were to take a sample of how the African community is run in the UK or some other places in Europe, the picture that you are describing perfectly fitting. Now, I want us to revisit what you were saying before about owning a shop or running businesses, or maybe where do we spend our money? Where we spend our money, whether you are looking at here in Italy or in some other parts of Europe, is that there are shops there are very few shops, of course, owned by Africans. I'm not denying that there are shops, but there are very few. Most of the places where we go to buy things that we eat, our African food. I'm not talking of Italian food or European food now. I'm talking of African food. We go to buy it by shop that are owned by other ethnic groups. So, which means now that we're going to struggle for the say euro or dollar, if you want to call it, or pounds, but we give it to other community member who they're going to spend it on their own community, and they grow big and we grow small. So somehow it still haven't entered into our consciousness that we need to look for a way to flip this. And from time to time, there are this project of how to do this, and we are always having a lot of reasons why it will not work. That why it will work, because a lot of people will come with a lot of excuses why it will not work, because it have never worked in some area, so they will say it will not work. So the question
Mm-hmm.
is, how do we flip the table? Because the equation is not right. The statistics is not right. It is not possible that we have a lot of Africans living in a particular demography, living in a particular area. They are spending their money to buy things their own food is provided by other people. It's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, please say something
Yeah.
more about that.
Well, we have to learn to support one another. We would be, I think we would still be. I really did not look this information up. But from many years ago, I recall hearing that if the Black community would join together, we would be the third strongest nation in the world. If we would consider collaborating instead of competing with one another. I'll give you an example. Was it four? It was five young men who grew up in the same area. And we're seeing a lot of this now on Instagrams, so some of this is coming together, but I think it needs to spread throughout the nation. But these five young men grew up together and they decided that they wanted to do something different. So they opened up a bank account, and each of them, every pay period, put anywhere from $50 to $200. They had a set amount. I just don't remember what it was. And after 5 years, they took that money and they bought their first investment property together. And then they moved on and they went from there, and they are growing. But here you have five brothers who sat down and thought to themselves, we want to make a difference. We want to do something different. We want to come together. We want to collaborate. Look at and I'll be honest, I'm not one who really supports movie stars, basketball players. I believe that if you need, excuse me, a mentor or a hero in your life, you need to find that within your family. And if you can't, I don't find that superstars and movie stars and those folks are the folks that are who you should be looking at. However, with that being said, you still have folks out there like LeBron James who is doing great things for the community. You have Oprah Winfrey who is doing things for her school in Africa with those young ladies, different things of that nature. So they are coming together. They are educating these communities. They are providing them with a higher education. They are being an example of how to manage your finances. But here's the thing to answer your question specifically. I believe it's in the Arab nation where you have a father, and this is a true story, who in fact had five sons. And what did he do? All of his sons are a dentist, a contractor, a doctor, whatever they are. They're all professional. You have your main home, and then they added homes attached to the main home. Everyone lives in the home. They bring their funds together. They work together, and they build wealth as a family. We as a people, Africans in different countries, different things of that nature, we need to come together. We need to talk. We need to set out a plan. We need to make a plan and say, hey, you have knowledge more so of the fruits and the vegetables and the things that we eat and how to grow those. You have knowledge about finances, or you have a connection to someone who possibly has a building where we could open up a store. So if five or six of us come together and think that we are able to do something, we're able to grow, then that is exactly what we are going to be able to do. So we can be in Italy, we can be in another country, on another continent, and we can say, hey, this is our community, and we need to help our community, and our community can prosper. So there is someone there that has the knowledge. They just need to meet up with other individuals who are like-minded thinkers.
All right. I love that. I love that. But I think this is very, very, very important. Now, recently, there is an idea that will be promoted within our audience. The idea is about keeping more businesses within the community, and most importantly, doing businesses within the community. And now, this is what we mean by that. Say maybe, for example, you have a business in the US or in the UK, in the Canada, wherever you might find yourself in the African diaspora community. You need other, because business is about service, and service sometimes is not something that you can do all alone because there are a lot of moving parts in it. Maybe you need to build a website, you need to create content, you need to do video, you need to do all sorts of things. You cannot do it alone. So just like when we go to buy food, we usually go to other community to pay them money to do this. Therefore, we're always giving out money. Even within business, with our services, we also give out money to other community to do this for us, like build a website for us, like do video editing for us. So what we are promoting, the idea is that why not businesses owned by African diaspora look towards Africa or even within Africa, the diaspora, for example, and patronize the knowledge that we have. In that, I'm not saying now let's organize dollars and send it to Africa. I'm saying there are an army of young people who are able to do the work for you. Why don't we do
Yes,
business among ourselves so that instead of you sending me money to cure malaria, give me the chance to be able to work for you. Let me become your content creator. Let me become your researcher. Why? Because internet have made the world a village. What you can access in New York, I can access it in Lagos. I can access it in Kaduna or Johannesburg. So, as people of African descent, it is on us to decide, that is, intentionally make this choice that we want to do business among ourselves. Because the Asians are doing it, the Chinese are doing it.
that's
Why can't
right.
we do the
That's right.
same? We are just promoting the
And
idea,
that's the
but sometimes
key.
people don't get it. Please say more on that.
That's right. That's right. I have a virtual assistant, um, African American young lady, and she does an excellent job. And I refer her out because she just works for me part time. I don't need her every day, but I refer her out. She's educated. She can get on this computer and just whip up some things very quickly. But that is exactly what we need to do. We need to seek out the brown skinned person who can accomplish what it is that you need. But here's where we have that problem and why we sometimes go outside. Number one, we obviously don't give ourselves an opportunity. Number two, many folks have this attitude of I'm entitled, or they don't know how to actually do business properly. If you say you're going to open your shop at 9 o'clock, then you need to be there at 8 o'clock to ensure that the doors are actually unlocked by 9 o'clock. If you say that you are open until 5 p.m., unless an emergency should arise, then you should be open until 5:05 or 5:15. But we have to learn how to do business, number one, properly, first and foremost, but secondly, to keep it amongst our community. Because you're right. When a young lady goes to buy beauty products or whatever, she's going to go to the Asian shop. If she needs to get a particular clothing, she's not looking for a black designer. She's going to go buy Gucci or Louis Vuitton or Guess or something like that. That's not to say that I haven't purchased items from those individuals myself at some time or another, but the bottom line is I look to support Black businesses. There's a business called Good Hair, Good Body, and she is a biologist, a chemist, and she creates her own hygiene products and her own shampoos. Love, absolutely love her products. There's another gentleman. I buy his facial products. Um, Urban Elite, great product. So, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media has actually allowed for a lot of Black businesses to promote themselves. And that is one way that I myself have been able to support more African American businesses. There are some young ladies who would get their materials from Africa. Oh, and their name, it'll come to me before we finish our call. Oh, matter of fact, here it is. Totes Fusion. And these young ladies are from Africa, and I have purchased a couple of bags from them, handmade using materials and supplies from the motherland. And what I love about the people that I support is I have their phone number personally. If I need something, like I wanted a pouch to carry personal items in from Totes Fusion to match the overnight bag that I purchased from them. They went out of their way, found a material as close as possible, and they made the item for me. Good Hair, Good Body. I recently did the seminar I mentioned for the young girls 13 through 18, and I wanted to put one of her products in the swag bag, and it was something that she doesn't even have on her line of products, but she did it for me. Urban Elite, if I decide to bless someone with a complete line of their facial products, I always call him and tell him to put in a little extra something, and he does it. And this is how you do business. This is how my husband taught me, because we're business owners here. He does foods. He says it's all about the presentation. And every now and then you're going to have that guest, several guests, it doesn't matter, who are actually regular clients, and they come back because why? The customer service, professionalism, presentation of the product or the food or the goods. These are all things that are important. And we as people of color have to learn to do all of those things. But at the same time, that almighty dollar that we possess in our hand needs to be put back into the brown skin community. We need to pull up our people and encourage them and, um, what's the word? Support them.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we need to support each other actually, because when you support them, then they can also come to support you, because we come to understand that we are one and we are running the same race here. So the question is, what do you think need to happen so that more people of African descent can do businesses among ourselves? You see, depending on how far or how deep we want to take that particular conversation or segment of the conversation, there is a lot that is going on about distrust among us, in that we find it difficult to trust ourselves, and we find it easy to trust other people. But
Mm-hmm.
this is something that is working against us, because now, so that you look at it, we are more than 200 million people in the diaspora, as African diaspora. Even though we are more than 200 million people, we are still a minority anywhere we go. This is, of course,
Yes.
going back to what you were saying before. Because we are not organized, it becomes difficult for us to be able to make any headway anywhere. We are always the minority. We don't do enough business among ourselves, so we're always giving our dollars to somebody else who need to take care of us. And then we say, but there is no job. There is no job because we're not creating a job. So the question is, what need to happen so that we can trust ourselves more and do more businesses among ourselves, so that we can take care of our need, so that the children in the community can learn that we need to do it ourselves.
Oh, that's easy. Just like those businesses we commune to now, word of mouth. When you've had a good meal or you actually did receive good customer service, you tell someone about it. I tell people about the businesses that I support every opportunity I get. Like now with this interview, I'm going to mention those businesses. I put little videos on Instagram or Facebook. I tell my friends. I will offer something that I've purchased as a gift to someone. Um, if my friends write a book, I may not need what they wrote. I have several friends who put some journals out there. I may not need a journal at that time, but I purchased the journal and I'll give it away as a gift. We can do so much just by supporting in small ways, just by word of mouth. When people post things on Instagram, Facebook, what else is out there? I don't know, LinkedIn, whatever device of communication, of advertisement is out there for that African American business, then we must support that. You may not have the dollar right now to support it, but you can forward it, you can post it. I support an organization here in Florida. It's called All Rise Foundation, and it is actually a family ministry. The majority of the funds for the things that they do come from the family and friends and donations from others. But this woman, her name is Erdley, she and her children, young adults, go out every single month to feed the homeless. And so what do? I'm out there sometimes helping her, but I will definitely take her flyer, pass it on to friends and family looking for donations, or just having them advertise it on their social media. That is a way to support our Black community, making people aware of what is out there, of what we're doing, how we're doing it, because almost everything we do is going to require some sort of money. So why not turn around and, as a Black American, African American, support that business, especially if they're doing something good. And so for myself and my team, we are out here wanting to eradicate financial illiteracy. So what do? The majority of our services are at no cost. We provide educational classes at no cost. We also can provide you with a copy of How Money Works book or How Money Works Take Control book at no cost. There is an ebook for the book for the next generation. So I email those things out. You just have to get the information out there. Everything has to be by word of mouth, advertisement of some sort. But if we don't do that, if we don't tell someone about the great service that we had from that Black provider, then they will never know. It's just like with my virtual assistant. I have referred her to 4 other folks because they need the same type of service that I get from her. Make flyers, do some posting on social media for me, things like that. It's not something that they need every single day, but several times a month she can assist them. I get excellent service from her, on time service from her.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and we need more of that to be able to encourage the community, because that is our community. It is our role to be able to make sure that they function well, so that at
That's
the end of the
right.
day, it can to make sense. This financial literacy that we are talking about, because by the time somebody is able to pick up this small gig here another gig there, another gig there, then he'll be able to get something to work with at the end of the day. If he add that one maybe
That's
to the
right.
work that is already doing, maybe like a salary job, it will be able to get more. More
That's
importantly, I
right.
think, is that the biggest contribution that we're actually making even by doing that is that we are creating more skills. And when people are more skilled, then they can even create more businesses among themselves, because then they will grow. So that instead of just doing this small gig, they can organize this gig and that become a company for themselves. And
That's
that means
right.
the
That's
community
right.
is growing. But if we don't do that now, children that are growing up will think that it is not possible for us to do, that we cannot do it. Well, we can do it. We can. So, what would be your final message here to conclude the conversation? Maybe your final, anything that you want to leave the people with to remind them that this is really an important conversation. Please go.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I think that we need to continue in any way that we can support one another. We need to um, provide any information that we have. Um, Search the internet, read books, attend classes. The Urban League and NAACP are out there providing great information. The How Money Works Company provides great information. I am actually in the process of collaborating with a young man who actually puts together a program that educates young folks about different things, and he needed a financial component, so he's having me be that financial component, that financial educator. I believe that if we continue to speak on this, then we are able to get this information out to the community at large. And there's I believe it's an African adage, um, saying that says, each one reach one, each one teach one. And we must continue to do so.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the time and also just sharing here. This has really be a valuable and highly, highly important conversation to have. Thank you so much, Jeahne, and I appreciate it. All right, so that is where the conversation ends today, and definitely we are coming back to it on another occasion. So thank you so much again.